Why is Bread and Roses important to Philadelphia?
Bread and Roses is super important to Philadelphia. It's like the only funder for social justice work in the region. Like, it's critical that there's a place for people to come together, pool their resources, and fund really important social change work.
Well, I mean, it's the progressive united way. This is, where you throw the money together and start new projects that you wouldn't have time to figure out about on your own.
I first got involved more than 20 years ago, and I was on the board of one of the grantee groups, and they needed somebody to come and represent, one of our funders. And I came, and it was the most diverse setting I'd ever been in, racially, age, LGBT, all of that. And so I slowly got involved with the Tribute to Change and fundraising in various ways, and I got on the community grant management. So it's so important for activists. Activists need the funding. But it was my training ground for how I've lived my life and how I've gotten involved in social change philanthropy. I currently work for the government, with credit unions. I focus on access to capital for underserved communities, and that would not have happened if I hadn't gotten involved with Bread and Roses Community Fund. No way.
Its history of change, encouraging groups to change, is really still important. And, people need to remember that history. We're trying to change, not carry. For me, it still works.
I believe and strongly believe that Bread and Roses, it's very it hits where it matters the most, which is the community, the heart of Philadelphia. And then when it comes to funding, when it comes to funding, it's a lot of times you go to a nonprofit, but they actually acknowledge the people that's on the ground, the grassroots. That's so important. That's really making the change in the forefront of things.
I think it is the only multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-income organization in the city.
Important to Philadelphia, important to me, because it funds the groups and people who are doing the most progressive work in the city. It does it on a broad-based scale, and I think without Bread and Roses, a lot of community organizations and progressive movements simply wouldn't have the funds to do the kind of important work.
Bread and Roses throughout its history has always, based on its relationships in the community, been able to connect to new and emerging organizations who are working on a variety of different issues. So there's a lot of things that have been supported in Philadelphia and in the region, where Bread and Roses was the first funder to support those things. I think it has sort of an interesting capacity to be a funder, but also to have very deep relationships and roots in the community. I think that people in the community think of it as a community resource and are very respectful.
Oh, it was a lifesaver. I founded the Darfur Alert Coalition in 2004, a good 10 years ago, and we were just launching our organization, and Bread and Roses granted us money to get started, and it meant a great deal.
Bread and Roses has contact with an awful lot of neighborhood groups or community groups that are doing significant and important work that most of us do not know about. And the work is really directed towards causes that many of us are supportive of. But because we don't know of them, we have no way of contributing to them. So therefore, using Bread and Roses as a conduit for our support is very helpful.
Bread and Roses is important for Philadelphia because it funds a lot of organizations that otherwise would get no support that are so valuable in terms of creating grassroots social justice change.
They're the one and only, right? So there are some organizations that are not going to be funded by any other place. And those are the organizations that I care about. And so I want to support Bread and Roses so that those organizations can be well funded and do the work that they need to do.
Bread and Roses is the last grantor to true nonprofit organizing activism in Philadelphia. And truly around the country there are not many organizations like Bread and Roses. So we let organizations like Disabled in Action, the organization that I work with, be able to do activism and advocacy that things like the Incarcerate, Mia Leah with the One Love can truly do, and not have to look for the conglomerate corporate money.